Good morning. So this is the player recap and reflections of last night's Dragonslayer session one. This is the first, um, hopefully a long-running campaign or chronicles, kind of West March style, drop in, drop out. Eloy has graciously accepted the role as maze controller in these sessions, and we are using the Barrowmaze Mega Dungeon for this, which I'm not familiar with at all, other than I have seen reviews and I have read reviews, and I've heard they are fantastic. Again, the only thing I own from Gillespie is Dragon Slayer, um, and I've already, I think, um, shared how much I like dragons. So this was fantastic for a couple of reasons. One, I had an opportunity to play again with old friends that I've played with many times in the past, just haven't had time in the last few years. Eloy, Jose, Todd, of course, I play with every other week as he GMs us in the Old School Essentials Joth Chronicles of Joth, which are fantastic old school. And to be honest, every Wednesday I feel like I'm getting my IV, right? I'm getting my IV treatment of old school D&D, right? Anyway, it's fantastic. The OSR IV, right? Um, and then of course Dell, who I mean, the owner of this channel and my co-author, co-designer of Drunken Japan, and longtime friend, and of course we play together all the time. And I'm forgetting somebody, shame on me. Oh, and Jorge, finally having an opportunity to play with Elo and Jose's old friend and longtime gamer, Jorge. So it was the first time for us to meet him and play with him, and fantastic. And I must tell you, for those who can't see behind the scenes, he submitted a character. So Eloy set up a Google Drive for us. So we're putting characters and information and maps, and it's a great place for us all to put in the stuff and get information. And Grimwolf is Jorge's paladin, and he submitted a fantastic character draft. So instantly, I knew who this guy was, and I was like, oh, holy cow, this is serious stuff. Man, put some effort into this, and it's wonderful to see the commitment. And he had great art for his character there in the AP. You watch that AP back, you'll see his character art, which is very cool. Okay, so who do we have here? We do have five players in this one. However, I think there's more like I think there's like 7 or 8 players that are actually in the group. It's going to be one of those. If you can make it, great. If you can't, that's okay. Don't. But hopefully, David has an invite. I'm really hoping David will join us here one of these Wednesdays, or maybe even a Tuesday night if we have to do a Tuesday night. Um, and Ivan and I believe Jim may also be in that thread. So we could have potentially had 8 player characters, which would have been something. So as it is, though, we had 5 PCs and we had let's see here, 3 men at arms and 1 torchbearer. So we actually ended up with 9. We had 4 hirelings basically and 5 PCs. So this is the way it should be done, right? You should have multiple PCs in the party if you want to improve your odds through the adventure of achieving success. But then we should have some hirelings if we are able to. For instance, the ranger is not allowed to have hirelings. The barbarian is never allowed to hire hirelings. So certain classes you won't be able to have retainers. But fortunately, the paladin brought 2 torchbearer and a man at arms, and our thief, Dell's thief, had 2 men at arms. I believe they're both men at arms. I think. Okay, so we had Grimwolf, Jorge's paladin, with Thelonious, an acolyte, a man at arms, and Fimbria, the female torchbearer, always close in tow with the paladin Grimwolf. And he made sure to remind us during session that they are generally, when not in marching order, they are generally close to him for orders, etc. We have Donald, the human ranger. Jose's ranger is basically a self-described archer right now, but he in the wilderness he led us. He led the party in the marching order in the wilderness. He did our direction finding, etc. And then of course Grimwolf his right hand man in the Barrowmaze hex crawl. We switched some roles when we got inside. Then we have Nagion, Dell's thief, fantastic again, elf thief. We have Tarlin, excuse me, Tarlin. This is Todd's acolyte of Arctile. I don't know if I got exactly. I think it's in our gods. I can't quite read my own handwriting here. I take a lot of short notes. But he is a cleric, and I believe human. I didn't hear exactly that. And then myself, Vex the Cyclops fighter. This was fantastic. So we start, and I loved this because, and this is one of the things I like about LOA. LOA likes to just get us right there and get us going, right? Why are we? Let's not mess around with a lot of chit chat. Let's not mess around with a lot. I mean, that's what having a forum or an email group or Discord or Google Drive, that's what that's for all that session zero, pre-session chitter chatter, between session chitter chatter. And then, come game night when we all have lives, let's get to the ground. And so I love that. But it was very cool. LOA found a way to let us introduce our characters, which I thought was cool too. So it's mid-morning. The year is 981, March 13th. We're on the moors, and we have been led by an grizzly old, long, gray-haired, conical-wearing grouse, Griff. And Griff has led us to the north, the southwest edge of the moors, and he has told us here begins the great moors, and good luck. The place you're looking for is northeast of here, and I'm done. I've brought many people here. Some come back, some don't. He tells us there's a bog town southeast of here, about 25 miles. If we don't try to cross directly to the moors, it's kind of circling around. And then he bids us good luck and farewell. I pay him 2 silvers for his time and trouble and for giving us some data. And we get into marching order. We set that, and we head out. I think we all mapped a little bit. I don't have a hex map, so I just mapped it best I could, and I'll show you what I was doing. It doesn't really matter to me how well I map, just that we make some effort to map. And so I had 2 maps. This is the moor, and so again, not exactly ideal, but as we traveled those 50 feet or yards or whatever it was, I can't get there. So it's northeast. So when he said we would go northeast, well, that was up and over, basically on a hex grid. Well, I don't have a hex grid, so I just basically went diagonally, noting that we were going northeast. Our first mound we discovered. Yeah, let's see, where's our first mound? We discovered a mound right here by these stones. We discovered our first mound in the session. So that's what my overland moors map looks like, which is pretty, pedestrian. It's pretty bad, but that's me. I'm not an artist. And again, we're going solely theater of the mind here, right? We're not getting any map from LOA Live. There's no fog of war here. Okay. And so this is part of the old school. Somebody should map, and maybe multiple guys should map. We thought about having a caller. I figured if we had like 6 or 7 or 8 people in this group, it would be so good to use a caller, and it would be something that it's a lost art. It'd be great to do the caller thing. However, 5 of us, and we're all fairly disciplined. We know what our roles are. We are communicating. We all understand the marching order. We all get it. We're all old veterans, so we didn't really need a caller, right? But I think even online, you get up to 7 or 8 guys in a group. To have one person communicate directly while the rest of us, tactically discuss all this, so then one person can easily communicate with a GM, which kind of happens anyway. When my character's doing something, I'm the caller. I'm narrating exactly what I'm doing. As Jose was leading us, he was the caller, right? So it kind of happens naturally to some degree. So for those that fear the caller, it's not that different. Whoever's kind of in charge of the moment is the caller, right? In traditional gaming, to some degree. So we get our marching order. Jose, the ranger in the field, kind of puts us in the marching order, which I thought was cool because we need our guide who understands the threats and is going to lead us. So again, Plaid, and then we had I may not have gotten all this right. We had Grimwolf beside him was our ranger leader. Then we had I think Rolf, one of the men at arms. Then we have Nagian, We had Tarlin and one of the torchbearers, and then we had Fex and Garwin at the end. I may have gotten this order wrong, but and we're marching north, northeast, north, northeast, and it isn't long. And remember, there is an unnatural fog here. The fog doesn't burn off as the sun heats the earth, or the sun heats the barometric pressure does not alleviate the fog. So this is an unnatural, somewhat fog. So we can only see 50 feet, 100 feet, basically. And so we march along here and we find our first evidence of a mound, and it has a stone block blocking the entrance, and it is undisturbed. We investigate it. We look for traps. The paladin feels just slight evil, but not enough really to get his hair to get his hair standing on end. And then it comes to my turn as Fetch steps up with the sledgehammer, and we take turns sledging this giant stone door until we collapse it in, remove the rubble, and we enter into the barrow mound. And my character leads the 6'8" Cyclops with the trident, and beside him the paladin. So the paladin is always in that front row. We enter this first mound, and there are two slabs or with skeletons exposed. So they're like stone slabs where skeletons are laid out. At the head of both of these skeletons are bowls, and then at the foot of these two skeletons are beautiful amphora, right? So we go in, we investigate carefully. The thief looks around for secrets and secret passages. We find gold in the bowl, so we take this gold. Both the paladin and myself take up this gold. There's no problem. The amphora, the thief investigates, finds that they are of value, but they're incredibly delicate. So what does the thief do? He immediately orders his baggage handler to take these two amphora. So I imagine by the time we get back to any civilization, they may be nothing but dust, right, or clay shards. So there was some discussion: do we leave them here when they've been safe for hundreds of years, or right? The ranger points out, yeah, but we broke the door down now, so how long will they be safe, right? So some great stuff. We then decide to rest here, as we have been out for a while. We started in the moors about 10 in the morning. We left Helix and marched 4 hours to get to the moors. That was the setup, and so we are now marching in. So we rest here, and we decide to continue on, and we're now going to try to get to the entrance location that we are looking for. We march along, we see another barrow in the distance, and we decide, well, listen, that was pretty easy pickings. We got some gold, and why not take a look? And my character says, listen, let's look. If it's breached, we can easily look in and see whether there's anything there. If there's a stone slab, we can leave it for later, as it's obviously not been disturbed. So we get there, we march over to it about 150 yards or feet. I don't know what I think the hexes are 50 feet hexes, I think, something like that in the fog. And sure enough, there's a stone slab. And the paladin, though, feels evil now emanating from this one. And the choleric, very cleverly being what he is, a man who likes to rid the world of, undead, etc. The choleric says, "Listen, this is what we're here for. What are we afraid of?" And so my character, who's already spent 30 minutes sledging down a stone block with a paladin, steps up and says, "Okay, okay, okay, again," and we sledge it down. We get inside, and this barrow mound, about this roughly the same size, though, in the middle is a sarcophagus, and we investigate that. And painted crudely in old art is an image of an old warrior, right? But it's a style of painting that is in a way so old it's somewhat foreign to us, somewhat alien to us. But I don't mean alien like sci-fi. I mean alien that it is not a recognizable artistic scrawl, but we do know it's of a warrior. And again, the paladin here feels definite evil radiating from this. So we organize. We organize the paladin and the cleric at the foot of this thing. Everybody else kind of circled around. The ranger with his bow trained, and my job to push this stone lid off of the sarcophagus. And indeed we do. And again, erupting, once we kind of look in, but it erupts quickly and stands, is an undead thing garbed in old armor and has a gold medallion hangs around its neck. And we win initiative and we very quickly dispatch it. I hit it with a trident. One of the men at arms hits it with a spear, and our ranger deftly puts an arrow into it from the back ranks without hitting me or anyone else in the front there. And it's done before it has a shot at any of us. So we luckily won initiative, and three of us were able to take this thing down. The paladin uh, exudes protection from evil, so but he cannot strike out or lash out without killing that. So he automatically kind of does this protection of evil, protecting both the cleric at the foot with him and his man at arms, Polonius. So they're all under this cloud of kind of protection from evil. So they abstain from making an action early because they don't want to kill this protection of evil spell that the paladin can naturally exude, which is very cool. The paladin I've never really I've played with a paladin in fifth edition, which was pretty awesome. I can't remember which young man played with us at that table, but he really did the paladin very well for that fifth edition game. Jorge, man, has got this paladin down. It's so very cool to see all these kind of special features of the paladin, which is a class that is not easy to achieve there with the rolls. So very cool. And so they abstain from an attack until they see what happens. And we fortunately kill this thing. We get the gold necklace from it. I use my trident to pick it up, and I wave it around and give it to Nasian. I actually first asked the paladin, "You detect evil on it?" And the paladin cannot detect evil on it. There's no sense of evil. So I then swing it around and hand it to the thief, Nasian, for care. He hands it to one of his bagmen to put it away. And the ranger spots on what's left of this creature a silver ring, and the ranger picks it up, eyeballs it, and puts it in his pocket. Does not attempt to try it on. And we are collecting treasure. These things all have a value that the thief is able to put an appraised value on, which is kind of cool. So the thief's given us an idea of how much value this stuff is. There's nothing else here. So we head off again. This time because we were going kind of north northeast. You can imagine through hexes, a hex crawl, literally hexes, north northeast. Well, we had to go north to get to this barrow mound. And so when we came out of it, and we rested again here inside. We took our break here. Um, we decided to go straight east from here to try to make up for having made this north move, and we didn't want to miss the one we're looking for. So as we go northeast, as we go east, when we come out of here after our rest, we actually spy to the southeast of us these large standing stones, and we were told that the place we're looking for, it's a mound with large standing stones on the top of it, and there will be a entrance that's already been breached by others. And we see it to the southeast of our location. So we kind of backtrack down one southeast, at least according to what I mapped, and I think what he said. So I started also mapping by making notes of exactly what Jose said. So Jose said we're going to go north, northeast, north. So I actually was mapping this way, and then I decided to also map this way, right? So I was mapping. So when we came out of a location, I would note exactly what Jose said, right? So I first noted it like in logic boxes, and then I would note it here. Okay. So I was doing a logic box map before I started doing an actual written map. Okay. Because a logic box map works just as well, right? We know we have to go southwest, south, southwest, south. Okay. Anyway, so we get to the new location, and meanwhile, every time we get to a barrow mound, the cleric would go to the top, right, as we begin to sledge these giant slab doors, and he would keep an eye out as far as he could. It was only about 50 feet the diameter around him in the fog, but just in case, he'd kind of have a bird's eye view with his cross and holy symbol on top of these mounds. So we had a plan. The ranger had organized on the first barrel mount our order of how we're going to protect the guys that are sledging the door, and the paladin and I would take turns sledging the door until we got it down. And Dell had given his minions orders to remove the rubble as we tore the door down, right? So we were dotting every I, we were crossing every T. We didn't just say I'm going to sledge the door, roll the dice, right, or something. Okay, so it was very cool. So we come to this at around noon, right? So we actually have found that we're pretty sure we found the place that Griff was leading us to and told us where to find it. We're pretty much sure this is it. Sure enough, on the back side of this mound is a breached opening. They investigate the stones first. They discover that they have some remnants of skeletons strewn around here, different levels of decomposing bodies. They look at the stones themselves and they see some carvings, but nothing that jumps out like runes or wards. My character then peeks in, takes a torch from one of the torchbearers, and I look in and we see stairway descending. We quickly organize back into marching order and we begin to trek down the stairs. And as we come into the 60 by 60 chamber, we can see with pillars holding the roof up, we can see a contraption, an A-frame a rig of block and tack with rope dropped down into a hole in the floor. And I believe the hole in the floor had either collapsed in or been made. I don't know if it was an actual normal hole in the floor, but this contraption above it where they obviously people had slid down or were bringing stuff up and down. We decide to investigate this. So I pull the rope up. I look the rope over to make sure it's good, clean, make sure there's scars or any damage to it. I pull it up. It's about 50 feet. We find when we drop a torch into the bottom, it drops down about 35 feet. It illuminates dismembered skeletons or disarticulated skeletons, meaning there was a head in one place and an arm over here and a leg over here and a rib cage over there. It wasn't. It was like a scattering of bones and rubble. We could see that the rope from here, when I drop it back down, it coils and leaves some coiled rope at the bottom. So we know that 50 feet rope will get us to the bottom. I pull it back up. We investigate the block and tackle, make sure it's pretty sound, but we don't use it. We tie my rope around one of the pillars, and the ranger slides down the rope into the second floor below us, and he begins to investigate. The thief had also gone through this room and investigated for any potential secrets or passages. We do see foot traffic coming in and all around this area in the dust. So there's been plenty of boot traffic, but we can't really make out whether they're coming or going. But it's so much of it, we know there must be people coming and going. No freshly dead things here. When he drops down into this chamber, there is a bit of a smell of death. It is damp. It is dank. It is dark. And he does spy on the southwest wall an archway exit. And the ranger, with torch in hand, heads over to that, and he looks down. And you see about 30 feet, when he pushes the torch down, about 30 feet, he can see there's a left turn, which would be to the south, that would be to the north. And there's just beyond that turn, as the hallway continues, there's a door on the south side, on the south wall, beyond this turn. He comes back and he yells up to us that there's an exit. And it looks as though this room is just rubble and remains. And we all, in order, descend down. We investigate a little longer, and then we all come over to that archway. And my character, next to the paladin, looks down the hall, torch in hand, as we begin to trek deeper. And that's where we draw the curtains on session 1. So we stopped there. We were 2 hours in at that point. It was a great, and one of the things I'm going to love about this is, again, like Todd's game, we play for an hour and a half to 2 hours, maybe 10 minutes. So we're very, very strict. Todd does a great, great, great job of getting our games done in about 2 hours, no matter what the situation. Todd's good at either, if it's not a cliffhanger, it's a good place to just stop. And of course, Eloy gave us the option. And of course, it's for our East Coast friends, it's 11 at night. So Todd said, yes, this is a good place. Let's stop here before we get into something. And it was perfect. So we got to know the characters a little bit. We got to introduce our characters, thanks to Eloy taking a moment saying, well, tell us who you are, which was cool, right? And I like that. I don't dislike hearing about the other characters for sure, especially from the mouths of the piece of the player. But at the same time, I appreciate that it kind of comes after we're kind of already on the ground moving through, and then it's like, let's meet these guys. So that was cool. It was a great way to launch. And again, I thought the system, of course, I now have had some experience with solo as an MC, and now as a player character, and I love it, of course. This was cool. The sledgehammer is so good, right? It isn't about whether we can or cannot open a door. It's a matter of how noisy we are and how quickly it takes, right? So that's an awesome tool. The crowbar, of course, we didn't have one. We had a shovel. I think one of Dell's characters has a shovel. So we ended up with 5 PCs and 4 henchmen, basically, which gave us 9. And that's how you're going to do these old school games, really. If you've got only 3 people with you, let them all have a second character to make 6. I mean, let everybody run 2 characters, right? Or let everybody have a retainer, so you got 6. So if we got 3 PCs, everybody could have a right hand man, man at arms. They get 4 hit points. They got a sword, and they can embrace combat, but they're not good for anything else. They're 0 level fighters, basically. Outstanding, and it just adds an element of, I won't say security, but it's survivability, and it's believable, right? You're not Luke, Han, and Leia capable of doing this stuff all by yourself, right? I mean, it's you are generally with a and you're an expedition. I mean, even Everest, when guys go up to do Everest, man, they take months to prepare. They take weeks to hike in, and they make those elevation changes. They make base camps and elevation changes. It takes them months to get to the magic days in which they're going to attempt to ascend Everest. And they don't do this stuff alone, right? They have a ton of people. That's an expedition, and most of them are helpers or cooks or baggage handlers, and then there's those Sherpas, the Sherpas that lead the party. And they tack the rope, and they're expert climbers helping the Western culture do something they really shouldn't be doing. That's my opinion. I'm not a fan of people who desecrate Everest by the thousands, right? It's nuts. It's crazy. But hey, that's my opinion. But my point is expeditions, right? There's rare lone climbers or rare buddies that just climb by themselves. So, that's makes sense that you're going to go with a large group of people, right? And the danger of that at your table is, it's hard for a GM to handle 8 live human beings, which is why the caller was an option to help reduce some of the chaos for the GM when he was taking in data. Let the players chaos, and then somebody clearly tells the GM the plan, right? This is Jason's going to light torches, Dell's checking for traps and hidden passages, right? And there's just some normal conversation. The players can be role playing all they want and having hero huddles. The GM can do some of that. Again, 5 of us, not a problem, even online communication. There was a couple times I think my mic's a little louder than everybody, so a couple times I could hear back just in the AP when I watched a little bit of to make sure it all came off. I mean that it recorded properly. That when I speak, and you can even hear me breathe. So this new mic's I gotta turn it down. It's picking me up easily. So there were times we talked over each other, but online, that's unfortunately that's online. You're going to talk over each other in meetings and online meetings, etc. So great game. I cannot wait to play again. We might even have a chance maybe next Tuesday to go again. I don't know, but Joth is next Wednesday, and then the next Wednesday would be Dragonslayer again. But we might have a chance to go on a Tuesday night as well. So we could have, I could do a Tuesday and a Wednesday every other week, 2 days a week. I don't want to do 2 nights a week every week. It's just too much on both my career and my personal life. Right, my wife doesn't want me gone every night. So anyway, great session, guys. I want to thank Eloy for volunteering to do this, and of course, great to play with these guys again. Jorge was fantastic. Great to meet Jorge, and again, Todd and Dell and I have been playing together for years, once a week at least, and so that's easy. We might see David and Ivan. Who knows who may else drop in and out. I thought there was one other John or Jim, maybe. I thought was also on the roster. I don't know. It's well worth it. Dragon Slayer has never disappointed me. This again is everything you need. Gillespie leaves no stone unturned. You've got a complete player's handbook here. You've got a complete monster manual here. You've got a complete DM's guide. You've got stuff that most don't give you, like dungeon creation, huge treasure tables, many monsters, and then of course good advice in the appendices. It is a complete package, and there are others, but this one is mine. All right, everybody, have a great week. Bye.